Let's dive into the surprising world of immigration policies and see if I can uncover which countries are actually kicking out immigrants in 2024. If you know, tell me in the comments. In 2024, countries around the world are grappling with increased deportation rates, a complex issue at the intersection of immigration policy, human rights, national security, and political agendas. This video will explore the top nations leading the wave of deportations, analyzing the factors driving these trends, the human and social impacts, and the political and legal frameworks that allow for such policies. From Europe to Asia, North America, and beyond, each country enacting mass deportations has a unique approach, influenced by domestic issues and global pressures. Join us as we delve into the countries leading mass deportations in 2024, the reasons behind their actions, and the consequences for the global migration system. 10. Russia. Russia has been under significant scrutiny in recent years for its deportation practices, particularly within the context of its ongoing war with Ukraine. In 2024, Russia's deportation figures have surged dramatically, with reports indicating nearly 93,000 deportations, an alarming 53% increase from 2023. These figures are tied to the forcible relocation of civilians, particularly children, from Russian-controlled Ukrainian territories to the Russian Federation. Russia's deportation practices are viewed as part of a broader strategy to consolidate control over contested regions and change the demographic makeup of occupied areas. The deportations are not just limited to the conflict zone. Russian authorities have long utilized deportations as a tool to maintain political and social order within its borders, particularly among ethnic minorities and political dissidents. While many of these deportations are justified on security grounds, human rights organizations have condemned the forced relocation of civilians from Ukraine as a violation of international law. The impact on displaced populations remains severe, with many facing uncertain futures in foreign lands. 9. Turkey, strategically positioned between Europe and Asia, has seen a significant rise in deportations in recent years, with the numbers doubling in 2024. The country has deported over 100,000 individuals, including migrants from war-torn regions such as Syria, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. The Turkish government's actions have been shaped by a variety of political, economic, and social pressures. The ongoing refugee crisis, exacerbated by the Syrian civil war, has led Turkey to take a more aggressive stance on immigration control. The increasing number of deportations is also a response to domestic economic difficulties, including high inflation and unemployment. Public resentment toward refugees and immigrants has risen, and the Turkish government has faced growing calls from nationalists and conservative factions to curb the number of foreign nationals living in the country. Furthermore, Turkey's role as a key transit point for migrants attempting to reach Europe has led to increasing pressure from European nations, which has contributed to Turkey's stricter immigration policies. In addition to economic pressures, Turkey's political dynamics play a significant role. Deportations are often framed as part of the government's broader strategy to combat terrorism and protect national security. However, human rights groups have raised concerns about the treatment of deportees, especially those sent back to countries where they may face persecution. 8. India, the world's most populous nation, is also a country deeply engaged in managing migration. In 2023 and 2024, India has intensified its deportation efforts, particularly targeting irregular migrants from neighboring Bangladesh and Myanmar, as well as refugees from the Rohingya community. India's porous border with Bangladesh has long been a challenge, complicating the enforcement of immigration laws. The reasons behind India's heightened deportation efforts are multifaceted. National security concerns have been central to the government's decision to deport undocumented migrants, with authorities citing the potential for illegal migration to fuel terrorism and disrupt national stability. Additionally, India's economic challenges, including unemployment and resource constraints, have prompted the government to adopt stricter measures to reduce the influx of migrants. Despite these justifications, India's deportation practices have drawn criticism from human rights organizations, especially regarding the treatment of refugees and stateless individuals. India's deportation policies are also shaped by regional dynamics, as the country's relationship with its neighbors has been strained by historical conflicts and ongoing territorial disputes. These tensions often spill over into the realm of migration, with deportation practices being used as a means to assert sovereignty and control over its borders. 7. United Kingdom. Following its exit from the European Union, Brexit, the United Kingdom has implemented a new, more restrictive points-based immigration system. One of the key elements of this system has been an increase in deportations, particularly among individuals who entered the UK illegally or overstayed their visas. In 2023, deportations in the UK surged, with estimates ranging from 10,000 to 200,000 individuals being removed, though the official figures remain somewhat opaque. Brexit played a critical role in the UK's changing approach to immigration. With the departure from the EU, the UK has regained control over its borders and, as a result, has adopted a more aggressive stance on deportation. The government has justified its policies by emphasizing the importance of reducing irregular migration, particularly from former EU member states, and prioritizing skilled workers over low-skilled labor. In addition to the economic considerations, national security concerns play a significant role in the UK's deportation practices. Individuals with criminal records or those deemed security risks are often targeted for removal, contributing to the rise in deportation figures. However, critics argue that these policies disproportionately affect vulnerable populations, including asylum seekers and refugees fleeing conflict zones. 6. France. France, a country with a long history of immigration, has seen a notable increase in deportations, with an estimated 30,000 to 40,000 individuals removed in 2023 alone. This rise in deportations is largely attributed to the country's focus on irregular migration and asylum seekers whose claims have been denied. Many of those deported come from North African countries, with a significant number hailing from Algeria, Morocco, and Tunisia. The French government has justified its aggressive deportation strategy on national security grounds, particularly in the wake of terrorist attacks and rising concerns over radicalization. The French public has expressed increasing anxiety about immigration, leading to political pressure on the government to crack down on illegal immigration. President Emmanuel Macron's administration has responded by introducing tougher immigration laws, including fast-track deportations for rejected asylum seekers. Human rights organizations have condemned these policies, arguing that they undermine France's commitment to humanitarian values. Deportees often face uncertain futures upon returning to countries with unstable political situations or ongoing conflict. Despite these concerns, France remains firm in its stance on deportations, framing them as necessary for national security and social cohesion. 5. Italy. Italy, one of the primary entry points to Europe for migrants arriving by sea, has seen a significant increase in deportations, particularly following the rise of populist parties in the government. In 2024, estimates suggest that between 25,000 and 30,000 individuals were deported, primarily targeting North African nationals and those involved in criminal activities. Italy's geographical location, combined with its strained relationship with other EU member states on migration issues, has led to a more aggressive approach to deportation. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni's government has made combating illegal immigration and reducing the flow of migrants a central priority. This policy aligns with the growing anti-immigrant sentiment in Italy, where populist political movements have gained significant traction. While these deportations are presented as necessary for national security and economic stability, they have sparked widespread criticism from human rights groups, who argue that they disproportionately affect vulnerable individuals fleeing conflict or persecution. Italy's role as a transit country for migrants heading to Northern Europe has made it a focal point of the EU's migration policy. As the country grapples with these challenges, deportations have become a key tool in controlling migration flows and managing public opinion. 4. Australia. Australia, known for its strict immigration controls governed by the Migration Act, has been a leader in enforcing deportations. Between 5,000 and 10,000 people were deported in recent years, primarily targeting individuals with criminal records, visa overstayers, and illegal entrants. Australia's immigration policies are built around maintaining a high standard of security, particularly in terms of border protection. Australia's approach to deportation is also shaped by its geographical isolation and its unique demographic challenges. As a country with limited land mass and a relatively small population compared to other developed nations, Australia is highly selective about immigration. The government has used deportation as a means to ensure that only those who meet strict immigration criteria are allowed to remain in the country. In addition to the economic and security imperatives, Australia's deportation policies have been criticized for their harshness and the impact they have on vulnerable migrants, particularly those from refugee backgrounds. The Australian public remains divided on the issue, with strong opinions on both sides of the debate over immigration. 3. Germany, with a population of over 84 million, has long been a key player in the European immigration debate. In 2023, the country saw between 13,000 and 15,000 deportations, and 2024 figures suggest that the number may exceed 100,000. Germany's deportation practices are focused on rejected asylum seekers, particularly from regions where asylum approval rates are low, such as Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria. The rise in deportations in Germany is a direct response to the country's complex relationship with immigration. In 2015, Germany opened its doors to over 1 million refugees, but the political landscape has shifted since then, with increasing opposition to mass immigration. Deportations are now being used as a tool to balance the humanitarian ideals of the past with the political realities of the present. The public debate in Germany centers on whether the country should continue its open-door policy or adopt a more restrictive approach. While the government has framed deportations as a necessary measure for national security and social integration, critics argue that they disproportionately affect the most vulnerable individuals, including women and children. 2. Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, the birthplace of Islam and a key player in the Middle East, has long been a destination for migrant workers, particularly from South Asia and Africa. However, in recent years, the kingdom has embarked on a significant policy shift aimed at reducing its reliance on foreign labor. The Saudization program, part of the broader Vision 2030 economic reforms, aims to increase employment opportunities for Saudi citizens while reducing the number of migrant workers in the country. In 2023, Saudi Arabia deported between 500,000 and 700,000 individuals, the vast majority of whom were undocumented workers and visa overstayers. These deportations are a direct result of the Saudization program, which seeks to replace foreign labor with Saudi nationals in a variety of sectors. The country's economic reforms, including efforts to diversify away from oil dependence, have also contributed to the increase in deportations. While Saudi Arabia's approach is framed as an economic necessity, it has raised concerns about the treatment of migrant workers, many of whom face poor living conditions and limited legal protections. Human rights organizations have criticized the deportations for their harshness and the impact they have on the workers who are sent back to countries where they may face poverty and instability. 1. United States. The United States continues to be one of the most prominent countries in the global deportation debate. The southern border remains a focal point for national political and social tensions, with the Biden administration ramping up deportations in 2023. The country's deportation policies are largely driven by concerns over illegal immigration, national security, and economic impacts. In 2023, the U.S. increased deportations significantly, especially among those who entered the country without legal authorization or whose asylum claims were rejected. While the government justifies these deportations on security grounds, critics argue that they disproportionately affect vulnerable populations, particularly asylum seekers from Central America and other regions affected by violence and instability. The rise in deportations in the U.S. is part of a broader trend toward stricter border border control and immigration enforcement, with political leaders across the spectrum calling for more stringent measures. As the U.S. continues to debate the future of its immigration system, the impact of deportations will be felt by millions of individuals and families. The issue of mass deportations in 2024 is a multifaceted and controversial one, shaped by political, economic, and social factors unique to each country. As countries like France, Germany, Saudi Arabia, and the United States lead the charge in enforcing strict immigration controls, the global migration landscape continues to evolve. The balance between security and human rights, national sovereignty, and international obligations remains at the heart of this ongoing debate. As we continue to monitor these developments, it's crucial to consider the human cost of deportations and the long-term implications for the global migration system. The policies of today will shape the world's migration patterns tomorrow, and it's essential to understand the complexities and consequences of these decisions. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more in-depth analysis on global issues.